What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Stand Tall. It is November 3rd, I believe, and we are in chapter 2 of The Art of War. So, without further ado, verse 1, a big one. Sun Tzu said, "In the operations of war, where there are in the field 1,000 swift chariots, as many heavy chariots, and 100,000 mail-clad soldiers, with provisions enough to carry them 1,000 li, the expenditures at home and at the front, including entertainment of guests, small items such as glue and paint, and some spent on chariots and armor, will reach the total of 1,000 ounces of silver per day. Such is the cost of raising an army of 100,000 men." Okay, so numbers aside, because inflation and time and everything like that, I think the point that's being driven home here is that armies, employees, yourself, all of it takes, from the little stuff to the big stuff, money in the sense of fuel, in the sense of provisions and food, and just all the little knickknacks that you need, and all the way down to pens and pencils, all the way up to, multi-thousand-dollar software for your company. And that is just the way of raising an army. I mean, that's just what it entails. And so it's just kind of like laying out the facts of, like, if you're going to do battle, it's going to be expensive. Doing battle in the alternate translation. Li Kuan says, before anything, first establish your plans, then prepare your equipment. This is why the chapter on battle follows the chapter on strategic assessments. So, Master Sun says, when you do battle, even if you are winning, if you continue for a long time, it will dull your forces and blunt your edge. If you besiege a citadel, your strength will be exhausted. If you keep your armies out in the field a long time, your supplies will be insufficient. Sounds like they kind of skipped over that other one. Interesting. A little different. Very different. Jilin says, even if you prevail over others in battle, if you go on too long, there will be no profit. In military operations, total victory is important. If you dull your forces and blunt your edge, sustaining casualties and battle fatigue, then you will be exhausted. So this one, I think, is taking more of a sense of, it's expensive to wage war mentally and physically, as opposed to what the other translation said of, like, the actual monetary values. Jilin said, even if you prevail over... Okay. Jang Yu says, when you are spending a great deal of money on a military operation, if the army is out in the field too long, your budget will not be enough to cover the expense. Li Kuan, as the classic spring and autumn annals say, war is like a fire. If you do not put it out, it will burn itself out. Yeah, so, like, burnout. Like, I mean, that's, like, I guess one of the reasons we have the term burnout these days is, like, if you don't put it, like, if you're not aware of the fire of burning at both ends, then you're going to become subject to it. So just be aware of it. Don't burn out. We've talked before about intentional breaks, intentional rest. Du Yu says, arms are tools of ill omen. To employ them for an extended period of time will bring about calamity. As it is said, those who like to fight and so exhaust their military inevitably perish. Interesting, because you look at, like, Genghis Khan, Napoleon, and some of those guys, and eventually, even though their conquest was the world over, they eventually just ran out. All right, November 3rd, from the Daily Stoic. Following the doctor's orders. Just as we commonly hear people say the doctor prescribes someone particular riding exercises or ice baths or walking without shoes, we should in the same way say that nature prescribed someone to be diseased or disabled or to suffer any kind of impairment. In the case of the doctor, prescribed means something ordered to help aid someone's healing. But in the case of nature, it means that what happens to each of us is ordered to help aid our destiny. Which is very interesting, following up from, like, the last one from Epictetus. But let's see where we go. So that's from Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 5.8. The Stoics were masters at analogies and used them as a tool to help strengthen their reasoning. Here Marcus observes how willingly we will put up unpleasantness if commanded by the magic words, doctor's orders. The doctor says you got to take this nasty medicine and you'll do it. The doctor tells you you have to start sleeping hanging upside down like a bat. You'll feel silly, but soon enough you'll be dangling because you think it might make you better. On the other hand, when it comes to external events, we fight like hell if anything happens contrary to our plans. But what if, Marcus asks, a doctor had prescribed this exact thing as part of our treatment? What if this was as good for us as medicine? Well, what if? Okay, so now I get it. And just like what God doesn't will, I do not wish for, and if God wills this, then so do I. And so the sense of what he's saying is like nature, the natural forces, the malevolence out there in a way. Um, these daily situations, not every day, but these situations that there's no rhyme or reason to encountering them, but what if it was nature's orders to present a struggle to you for you to overcome and grow? And so I think that in combining the two, just like the opening line here for the chapter says from Lee Kwan, first establish your plans, then prepare your equipment. This is why the chapter on battle follows the chapter on strategic assessments, is because chapter one being the strategic assessments, right? Just like the last two readings from the Daily Stoic from yesterday and today, strategically and stoically, we can tell ourselves that the unexpected, the known unknowns, or even the unknown unknowns, those are meant to be. They're meant to be for a reason. It's just a matter of finding that reason and trying to remain calm in the moment, knowing that whatever this is, it's good. It might be hard, or it might be difficult, or it might be unfair, or it just means that if you accept it, if God wills it, so do I. If you accept nature giving you some kind of difficulty, then you are able to, number one, overcome it quicker mentally, so then you can overcome it quicker physically. But also, if you accept it as an opportunity for growth, then all of a sudden your whole mindset changes. The whole frame of everything that you're trying to do and accomplish changes, because now it's not a setback, it's a setup for a comeback. And with that, we're going to wrap this one up. Keep standing tall out there.